Okay. Today is March 10th, 2021, and here is the temperature in Crystal, Minnesota today. Alright, today I want to talk about adapting. You could tell I'm not behind the green screen today. I am not wearing my gray pajamas. I have completely changed these March videos now. I mean, it's still me sitting here talking to you about filmmaking. Doing the green screen took me like 2 hours every morning. It was so challenging to export that green screen the way I want in After Effects, to set up the lights, to make sure everything was right, to edit the videos, and to do everything properly, and it wasn't worth it. And after a week of working on it, or almost a week and a half of working on these videos and doing them with the green screen and everything, I decided it wasn't worth it anymore, and I wasn't having fun doing it. The whole reason for doing these morning videos is it should be something fun, something that gets me up and motivated, something that gets me wanting to make more things through the day, start a conversation, because I just like to chat with you all about filmmaking. And so far it's worked. I'm changing this, so that I'm just doing it here in my studio, having this conversation that I wanted to have with you all about the filmmaking process. I've adapted. And adapting to me is the #1 most important thing of any project. The Good Exorcist never would have got made. Greywood's Plot definitely wouldn't have got made because I had one concept in my head. We had to totally think about what those ideas were and break them apart and change it completely. And if I hadn't changed my process, I would not have finished Greywood's Plot. Every single short film was just adapting in the moment and really figuring out, like, what can I do right now with what I have. My short film Chum, we had rented a camera through the job I was working at, and we had this wonderful 4K Canon C300 Mark II that I wanted to try messing around with. Kind of was just a fun monster movie with my friends, and we wrote that like in a day, got together. Daniel and I were just like, what's a crazy idea we could do out on a lake? Because we have a lake, we have a boat, let's try this. And that's what that was. It was just a crazy idea that we went for. Even as I'm going into my next production, I had a concept for what that was going to be, and I've had to completely change my mindset of what it is in order to actually get it done. Or it's been 2 years of thinking about this thing, and I haven't really got going on it as much as I would like to. So I had to change. The gray outfit I've been wearing this last 2 weeks was all because I would have to get up in the morning right away, get Max to the bus, come down here and film them, start getting the green screen going so I could get it done in time to have it out, and it was just a lot of work. I don't know if you guys have seen The Director's Chair with Robert Rodriguez. It was on the El Rey network. You can get them on iTunes and wherever. Every single one of those filmmakers on that show talks about having to adapt. People that I look up to, the filmmakers that I respect more than anyone, George Miller, Michael Mann, Quentin Tarantino, all of these filmmakers talk about their struggles and the challenges that go into filmmaking, and when you really think about it, they have this mentality of they have to change. One of the fears that I have is that I get too in my head and I become obsessed with a concept. When I do that, that's one of the reasons why in my notebook for every film I have those 5 words listed. I talked about earlier how I take 5 words and every project has 5 words that I associate with it. It keeps me grounded in what the movie is, but it also reminds me that there is more than one place to go with this. I can think about this word or this word or this word, and they will all send me a different direction. Yes, it's great when you have a concept and you can stick to it and you can make that thing that you had in your head from the beginning, but it's just as important that you don't get stuck. I've been on plenty of film shoots where the filmmakers, the director, whoever, is stuck in that moment and they just can't seem to detach themselves from the thing. They're holding it sacred. If you've listened to my podcast or if you've watched all these videos, at some point I probably talked about the fact that when I was younger, I thought I was going to be a pastor. I actually went to school thinking I was going to be a pastor. I was in a private high school, and obviously I went a very, very different way with my life. Being honest and vulnerable with yourself, knowing what you want and that you're not always right. And maybe you're different. I know a lot of filmmakers out there, they stick to the script, they stick to their guns, and they have a vision and they need to get that vision on screen. That is amazing. If you're one of those filmmakers who can pull that off and make something awesome, more power to you. I am not. And I've had to realize this about myself. I purposely have worked with rough drafts of scripts so that I don't hold them sacred and don't overthink it. I know if I spend hundreds of hours on a script and I overanalyze it and I think it through too much, when I get there the day of, I'm going to be like, but I thought this through. I worked this out in my head. This worked. And when it doesn't, things fall apart for me. There's a deferent... Oh, Jesus. There's a definite risk in filmmaking that we don't always think about. We think of how we can plan everything and get everything ready and be there in the moment and it's going to work. But every single shot, every single moment has this risk that also comes with a reward when it pays off. And being able to find the way to that reward is what kind of keeps me going and keeps me interested in the process. Every time something goes wrong, I know that there's that lightning in a bottle moment that's about to happen, and I'm constantly challenging myself to get that. Those come from adapting and learning and realizing that you can't plan everything and it's never going to be flawless. With animation, that's sort of a big part of it, is you can keep working on something until it's unflawed, and I feel like that for me destroys sort of the look and the feel I'm personally going for with my animations, and I've tried to carry that over into my movies, knowing that they're going to be rough around the edges at sometimes, especially with these $2,000, $3,000, $7,000 movies. There's no budget to make it happen flawlessly. So kind of embracing those flaws and adapting as I go to realize where the flaws are going to be. The process is enjoyable, and it's a project that I want to live with for the rest of my life. That's something that people don't often think about. They think about being in that moment, getting it exactly right, exactly the way they saw it in their head. I'm not that way, and I can't work like that, so I've learned that about myself. I'm curious what your process is. One of the things I'm trying to make sure is that I'm not coming across in these videos like I'm trying to explain the only way. There is 1,000 different ways to make movies, and I feel like a lot of us get on YouTube and we start watching tutorials and people start explaining to us the right way to do things, and it's just not true. We all have our different processes. There have been a couple people in the chat, Lee is one of them, who has hopped in the chat almost every day and left a comment, and it's been really fun seeing some of you leave comments saying how your process is different than mine, how you work with note cards completely different than I do, how you set up your schedules different than I set up mine. We're all going to work different, and it's what's going to make our movies stand out from each other's. You can give 100 different directors the same script, and they will all make a completely different movie. That's why I feel like we all have different ideas, we all have different concepts, and we all have different ways of working, and in the end, it's going to give us all different styles. But trying to ape each other's styles and steal concepts that don't work for us is what's going to hold us back. So I'm curious how you work. How do you adapt when you're on a film set? What are some stories about adapting? I love to hear stories. That's why I do the podcast, listening to people tell their backgrounds and their stories and how they got to where they are and things they've learned over the years. It helps me validate the way I do things, but it also helps me realize that none of us have a perfect process, and we all have our flaws, and we all have to find what we're doing. So thanks so much for watching these videos, and I hope you enjoy now that I've adapted. It's sort of coincidental because it usually is like halfway through production where I feel like I have to sit down and have a heart-to-heart with myself and be like, all right, what is working and what isn't? And we're halfway through the week of these production videos, and I sat down and had to have that moment where I'm like, I don't want to film in front of a green screen anymore. There's a different way to do this and a better way to do this, and I'm going to do that. So that's what I did. I'm just going to film wherever I want to film and talk about whatever I want to talk about, and if you enjoy it, that's amazing. Give it that old thumb. If you don't like it, give it the other thumb. Thumb down. Comment, because I love the comments. You don't have to comment for my algorithm. I don't give a shit about my algorithm. And if they help give you a kick in the ass in the morning, great. That's why I'm doing it. All right, until next time, keep kicking ass. It's Wednesday, right? Is it Wednesday? I don't have my watch. Let's keep going. Cheers. Okay, cool.